Hello everyone. This video is about the highest literature in Hinduism. Actually, the term Hinduism is not a complete description. What we refer to Hinduism is actually Sanatan Dharma, eternal religion, Puratan Dharma or Sanatan Dharma, because there is no end and there is no beginning. So that is the religion which is known as Hinduism, but a more appropriate term is Sanatan Dharma, which has always been there and which will always be there, infinite. So this scripture, Bhagwat Mahapuran, is very unique because there are so many scriptures. There are Upanishads, there are Puranas, there are Vedas, there are Upavedas, Itihas, Nibandh, Smritis, and these run into hundreds and hundreds of thousands of verses in great detail. So this Bhagwat Mahapuran is considered as the essence and the summary of the entire Vedic scriptures. So this is so beautiful to read and to learn the truth about the spirituality which we all want to hear and learn, but it does not happen all the time. It is very rare that somebody can give us the summary. So here in these videos which I started making in Malaysia, I have covered 3 cantos, or you can say 3 segments of Bhagwat Mahapuran in Malaysia, and then there was a pause. Now I am in Singapore, so I would like to complete the entire series because Bhagwat Mahapuran is in 12 cantos, and we will cover the 4th canto today, and then 5th, 6th up to 12th. So these videos are about 15 minutes to 20 minutes max. So it's a very bird's eye view, glimpses of the entire canto. So a canto is a collection of chapters. Bhagwat Mahapuran has 18,000 verses divided into 12 cantos, and in each canto you may have 30 chapters or 40 chapters. There is only one canto where there are 90 chapters. That is a special chapter about the Lord Shri Krishna. So in today's video we will cover the 4th canto, and I make these videos both in Hindi and English. So this is the English one, and just to recall that we have completed 3 such videos: 1st canto, 2nd canto, 3rd canto, and also on the importance of Bhagwat Mahapuran, that is called Bhagwat Mahatamya. So for those who are not familiar with Sanatan Dharma or the eternal religion, which is also called Hinduism, we can say this is the story of God. So in this Bhagwat Mahapuran, every aspect of spirituality is covered. That who are we, what is soul, what is God, what is the transmigration, the soul keeps moving from one body to another, what is subtle body, gross body, law of karma, causal body, what is the different states of mind, like ego, intellect, etc. So everything is covered in Bhagwat Mahapuran in great detail with stories, with the references from the lives of the saints. So in the first 3 cantos, we learnt about how Bhagwat Mahapuran was created by Veda Vyas, who is the literary incarnation of God. This knowledge is eternal, but as the time passes, the ages keep changing, and in the current age, which is called Kali Yuga, our mind is not so sharp, it is dull, our memories have reduced. So in the earlier ages, the knowledge would be passed on through the tradition of hearing. It is called Shruti. But in Kali Yuga, the lifespan also reduces to 100 years, and the memories also reduce, and we are always agitated. But the beauty of this age is, though the times become very difficult, but it is so much easier to achieve the highest goal because the efforts required to achieve God realization is reduced by the mercy of the Lord. So whatever efforts are required in Sati Yuga, which is the first stage, for 12 years is reduced to 12 months, 1 year in the second age, which is Treta. In the third age, it is reduced to only 1 month. And in the fourth age, which is Kali Yuga, the current age, it is reduced only to 1 day. 1 day of intense spiritual practices and sadhana, which is called sadhana, will fetch us the highest results if it is sincere, if it is unbroken, and if it is genuine. Who certifies that? Only the Lord Himself and His representatives, whom we call prophets or angels or Mahapurush or Gurus. So let us now begin the 4th canto. So we learn that the creation of a particular universe begins with Sri Krishna agitating the Prakriti, and Prakriti converting into Mahatattva, and Mahatattva converting into Ahankar, and with the combination of gunas, the 3 gunas, Rajsik, Tamsik and Satvik, the Panch Tanmatra is created, the 5 sense perceptions, then the 5 gross elements, space, air, fire, water and earth, and then all the vegetations and animals and insects and plants, everything is created in the universe. Our universe is 4 billion miles in diameter, and it has got 7 planets in the top, 7 planets in the subterranean. That is the geography. We are on the Bhumandal, the middle stretch of land, which has 7 islands, huge islands, and separated by huge oceans. But within the first island, which is called Jambudvip, we live, and within Jambudvip there are 9 Varsh, and our Varsh is called Bharat Varsh, and in Bharat Varsh we live in a planet called the Earth, in which we have these 7 continents, Asia, Africa, America, etc. And the first personality who is created from the navel of Vishnu is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, is called Brahma, and Brahma meditates and the mind born sons are born. They are called Manas Putra. There is no involvement of a mother in those births. It is just by the meditation. So they are called Manas Putra. But when the population doesn't grow, Brahmaji gets anxious, and from his body 2 personalities emerge, a man and a woman. And then at the same time, the attraction between the man and the woman is created through a personality called Kamdev, who we may call Cupid. And then the biological reproductive creation begins, which is called Mathuni Shrishti. So the first created being is Brahma. He is imparted the knowledge by the Lord himself, and then so many Manasputra like Sankadik Rishis, Narad Ji, Lord Shiv, Kardam Rishi, the 10 Rishis, sages, all these are the Manasputra, the mind-born sons. And then from Manu and Shatrupa, the biological creation, and Manu and Shatrupa have 5 children, which we have covered in the first 3 cantos, Akuti, Prasuti and Devhuti, and Uttan Pad and Priyavrat, the 2 sons. So in the 3rd canto, we have already covered the lineage of Devhuti, who is the daughter of Manuji, and she was married to Kardam Rishi, and they had Kapil Dev as their son, who is God himself, and Kapil Dev Ji preached to Devhuti. All these we covered in the 3rd chapter. Now in the 4th chapter, it begins with the description of the other 2 daughters, which are Akuti and Prasuti. Akuti is married to Ruchi Prajapati, and Prasuti is married to Daksha Prajapati. And from the union of Daksha Prajapati and Prasuti, many children are born. One of them is Sati, who gets married to Lord Shiv. Now Lord Shiv is a very special god. He is wearing the garland of a snake and the mundamal, the heads, and also he is smearing the ashes taken from the funeral pyre. And then the story is, once a Yagnya was going on, and it was being performed by Daksha Prajapati, who is the father-in-law of Lord Shiv. But he was not invited, and his wife Sati was very much hurt by this treatment. And she decided to go to Yagya Shala, the place where Yagya was performed, despite Lord Shiv's advice not to do so. But she went there, much to the surprise of Lord Shiv, and she was, as expected, insulted. There was no offering for Lord Shiv. There was offering for everyone, but not for her husband. So all this could not be tolerated by Sati Ji, and she immolated herself. So when the news of immolation reached Shiv Ji, he took out his mat and created this giant personality called Virbhadra, who went and destroyed the Yagnya. And he also was accompanied by so many other associates. They started punishing, and Daksh, who did such a offensive act, he was killed. So that is the first part of the story about Sati Ji's self-immolation and how the Yagnya was destroyed. Now after some time, the Devatas, the celestial gods, accompanied by Brahma Ji, approached Lord Shiv that whatever has happened, let us now forgive them. So it was decided, okay, let us go there and revive them. So Daksha Prajapati was revived. The head of a goat was added to his severed head, and also Bhrigu, who had also supported Daksha and laughed, and his eyes had been pulled out, he was also restored with eyes, etc. So this is the first part of the story. And then the story of the son of Manuji begins, which is with the younger son of Manuji, which is Uttan Pad. So Uttan Pad has many great kings in his lineage, and one of them is King Ang, who was a very able king. His son is King Vena, who was not at all supportive and helpful to the kingdom. He was very cruel, and he tormented all those who were performing worship and who were spiritually inclined. So much so that the rishis, the sages, decided to punish him. And in the process he was killed. And now the kingdom was bereft of a king. So the sages decided, let us churn the body of King Vena, whose body had been preserved by his mother, who belonged to the lineage of Kal, the death personified. So from the churning of his body, from the upper part, King Prithu was born. Now King Prithu is the avatar of God, and also another personality was born called Archi. She is the avatar of Lakshmi. So both Prithu Ji and Archi, they were married, and now Prithu Ji is the ruler. He is ruling the kingdom, and from the churning of the lower part, a very ugly looking personality was born, and that person went and resided in the forest. So now Prithu Ji finds that the earth is not producing grains, vegetation, medicines. The cows are not producing milk. So he was very upset with Mother Earth. Mother Earth, who has taken the form of a cow, was now facing the wrath of King Prithu, who wanted to punish her. So he ran after her to shoot arrow and kill her. She ran for her life, but how much she could run, she finally stopped and pleaded to King Prithu that please listen to my words, O king, and then decide. Now when Prithu Maharaj listened to the woes of earth, he found out that the earth was actually innocent, and it was the adharma, the unrighteousness which was going on, had caused this situation. So he really felt pity on Mother Earth, accepted her as a daughter, and requested earth to restore all these with his support. So the Mother Earth in the form of cow was milked. The first milker was King Prithu himself, who used his palm to collect the milk, and then the calf was, if I remember correctly, Swayambhu Manu personified. Because for milking the milk, you need a calf, you need a container, and you need a milkman. Similarly, in different acts, several other personalities milked the cow, and all that is required for the earth were produced. So now once again, people who were famished, who were starving, got such a lease of life. So this is the second part of their story. Also, Mother Earth requested Prithu Maharaj that you should flatten the land which has too many undulations, so that it becomes more habitable. So Prithu Maharaj also flattened the land. And finally, it was time for Prithu Maharaj to perform many yagnyas. And when he was performing yagnyas, when he completed 99 yagnyas, Indra, who is the chief of the Devatas, he got frightened and he stole the horse in the Ashwamedh Yagnya. So how Indra was punished by his son, that is the next episode. But when Prithu forgave Indra first time, but the second time he repeated the act, Prithu decided to kill him. But at that time, Lord Vishnu arrived and he pacified Lord Prithu and desisted, told him not to do so, and that's how Indra's life was spared. And then Prithu Maharaj finally retired and giving the kingdom to his son called Prachin Barhi. Prachin Barhi was a good king, but he had one problem, that he was a Karmkandi. He was performing so many Yagnyas. Now, here we should know that Vedas prescribe Karmkand, which is do this, do this, do this, do the worship in such a manner, bring so many ingredients, call a priest and perform the worship. Now this is called Karmkand. So Karmkand is not the ultimate aim of Vedas. The ultimate aim is the complete surrender, the faith and the loving relationship with God. But in the beginning, this is not possible for the majority. That is why Karmkand is very much a part of the Vedas. Now, Prachin Barhi got so much involved in this Karmkand that Narad Ji had to intervene, and he came down and told him, look, you are killing so many animals in the name of the sacrifice. And he showed those animals who were there in the sky waiting for King Prachin Barhi to end his life, and then they will take the revenge. Now King Prachin Barhi realizes his mistake and he repents. And he says, I never knew about all these. My teachers never spoke about the devotion and the worship of the Lord, which is the highest dharma. That is the story of King Prithu and Prachin Barhi. Now Prachin Barhi's time came to depart and to do austerities. So he had 10 sons. They are called Prachetas. And these Prachetas were very able sons, and they have to now get married, get into Grihastha. But before that they wanted to do some austere tapasya. So they decided to go into the water of the ocean and pray and meditate for 10,000 years. So on the way they were met by Lord Shiv. And Lord Shiv exactly knew who they were and where they were going. So he told all that. And the preachings which Lord Shiv narrated is called Rudra Geet. Now this Rudra Geet is amazing. It has got so much of knowledge, and it is very pious to recite them, especially in the Brahma Muhurtam, which is 2 hours before the sunrise. So there are great Falashruti, the great benefits of reciting this Rudra Geet in the early morning. So this is one part of the story. And now the Prachetas, the 10 sons, went into the water. They were doing the austerities, and there they were met by Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu. He had come in his 8-handed form, and he was riding his conveyance, Gadur, and he also gave them the advice that how they should complete their austerities and rule the kingdom and rule for 100,000 years. And also he advised that they should marry a girl called Marisha. Now this Marisha is the daughter of Kandu Rishi and the Apsara Pramlocha, because when the rishis are meditating, Indra gets fearful and he sends these beautiful damsels from the heavenly planets to disturb the sage. So this sage got married to Pramlocha, and they had this daughter called Marisha. Now after some time, Marisha was left alone because the mother Pramlocha went back to the heavenly planet. So who will look after Marisha? So the trees helped Marisha and looked after her, and also the moon would feed the child. So Marisha grew up. The Prachetas completed their austerity, they came out of the water, and in the meanwhile many trees had grown and there was hardly any land on the earth. So Prachetas got very much upset, and they had the power, so from their mouth they created the fire and started burning the forest. Now this was so devastating that Brahma Ji had to intervene, and he pacified them, and also the trees brought Marisha that, oh Prachetas, please, this is the gift for you, you have to marry her as per the advice of Lord Vishnu. So Prachetas got married to Marisha, and they had many children, and one of them is Daksha, the same Daksha who reincarnated again in Chakshus Manvanta, and he is the one who will propagate the population. So this is the story of Prachin Barhi, Prithu, Pracheta, Dhruv Maharaj, and before that the part of the Dhruv Maharaj is well known, that how as a 5-year-old child, when he was denied the place on his mother's lap by his stepmother called Suruchi, he was very upset and he went into the forest, and how he got visited by sage Narad, and he advised him to do tapasya, and finally Lord Vishnu arrived and gave him the boon. So that is the story of Dhruv Jee, who finally went and resided in the place called Pole Star, Dhruv Tara, because he was given the boon that is one of the highest places in the universe, and he will be there for the entire kalp, for the entire day of Brahma Ji. So we learnt about Dhruv Jee, his lineage kings, which are the kings Ang, Vena, Prachin Barhi, Prachetas. The last part of Canto 4 is the story of Puranjan. This is an allegorical story which was narrated by sage Narad to Prachin Barhi to make him refrain from doing all the karma kand which he was doing, and to make him concentrate on the devotion, on the bhakti dharma. So in this allegorical story there is a king called Puranjan, who is actually the jeev, the soul, and he gets married to Puranjani, who is a very beautiful woman. So Puranjani is the intellect, and Puranjan does not listen to his friend Avigyat, who is Paramatma, the Lord, and he goes into the forest in the land to look for a place which will fulfill his desires. So he finds a city of 9 gates. So the city of 9 gates is nothing but our own body, which has 7 gates on the upper part of the body and 2 gates at the lower part. He resides in that city of 9 gates, which is in the country called Panchal, which represent the Panch Tanmatra, the 5 sense perceptions. And this Puranjani, who was accompanied by a serpent which has 5 hoods. The serpent represents the Panch Pran, the 5 life hairs, Pran, Apan, Udan, Vyan, Saman. And she is also accompanied by 10 soldiers who represent the 10 senses, 5 knowledge senses and 5 working senses. And also one lieutenant, one commander-in-chief who represents the mind. So this allegorical story very beautifully describes, sorry for my bad throat. So very beautifully describes the body, mind, soul mechanism, and how these kings and the queens and the personalities depict them so well. Finally, he gets so much entangled in the householder's life that he doesn't realize what is he missing, and he is having so many hundreds of children, grandchildren, but the time has passed and now he is attacked by the Kal, the time, by a king who is called Chandalveg. So this king is accompanied by a sister called Kalkanya, which is the old age. So this old age Kalkanya was looking for a husband, but nobody wants to marry because she is so frightening, the old age. So she becomes sister to the personality Chandalveg, and now they have attacked Puranjan, who is so much entangled in his material life that Puranjini, when she dances, Puranjan also dances. When she laughs, Puranjan also laughs. When she cries, Puranjan also cries. He is completely besotted and lost in his household attachments. And finally, when Chandalveg and Kalkanya, and they were also accompanied by Adi and Vyadhi, who represent the mental illnesses and the physical illnesses, and Prajwar, which represents the fever, which will finally kill Puranjan. So Puranjan is killed despite his crying and all the miseries which he is going through, being separated from Puranjini. And then, because he was so attached to his wife Puranjini, in his next life he is born as a woman who is called Vaidarbhi. And she is married to a king called Maladhwaj. So at this point of time, when his her husband rather, he has now become a woman. So her husband Maladhwaj, she has passed away. So she is also wanting to immolate herself. At that point, Avigyat appears, the super soul Paramatma, and preaches her and tells her about all that which has happened, that she in her previous life as Puranjan did not listen to his advice. So that is how this allegorical story ends. Also, we should remember that the Gandharva king Maladhwaj was accompanied by 360 Gandharvas who represent the 360 days, and the 360 Gandharvis who represent the 360 nights. Beautiful story, not easy to understand in one go, but I would request all of you who is interested in learning the story about the story of God to read them in detail and apply this knowledge in our meditation, and to relish in the bliss of God, which is the panacea for all our miseries, for all our problems, for removing all the frustrations, fear, anger, all the negativities, and become the best version of ours. Take care. It has become a long video. Take care and see you next.